if we're going to get rid of any puppeteers, we should get rid of the one that's actually controlling Donald Trump. Fire Elon Musk and save Elmo.
Okay, with an intro like that, you already know this is going to be a good video. So if you are unaware, there was a government hearing to figure out whether or not taxpayers should still be funding NPR or PBS. So in this video, we will go over the most recent meltdowns surrounding this hearing, and let me tell you something, it gets rather interesting and you can form your own opinion at the end. Now, before we start the video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. Let the chaos begin.
Let's talk about the newsroom. You have 87 registered Democrats, not a single Republican in your editor board. So, I mean, how does that work to give us the perception that you're doing your job of actually delivering unbiased information?
Well, I would agree with you that that number is a concern if it is accurate. I do believe that we need to have journalists who represent the full breadth of the American society so that we can report well for all Americans.
Well,
okay, please leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this, because one of the most shocking things off the bat we heard during this hearing is that 87 Democrats to 0 Republicans are editors for NPR. Now, when you do your research and look up NPR, yes, we can all see its left-leaning bias, but now we know why.
Free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing, because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or
Alright, please leave your comments down below how you feel about Congresswoman Crockett's comments. Now here's the divide. From the Democrat side, Democrats are saying Republicans want to take down NPR and PBS because Republicans don't want freedom of speech and they are afraid of these organizations to report on them. And the Republicans are saying quite the opposite, that NPR and PBS are way too biased for taxpayers to be funding these organizations, only for these organizations to be crapping on their own political spectrums.
Ms. Kerger, in 2023, when PBS had a program, Washington Week with the Atlantic, and when President Biden's mental acuity was questioned, one of the reporters claimed the GOP was lying. Another reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg, who's been in the news of late, described Biden as, quote, mentally acute. Were you aware if there were any dissenting opinions on that program that day?
I don't know from that day, no.
There were not. But fortunately, there was a debate in, I believe, June of 2024, where the American people and the world found out just who was lying. The Democrats, Jeffrey Goldberg, and PBS. Ms. Marr, I'm sure you're aware that Hunter Biden had a laptop.
I am, sir, yes.
Okay. And there were many stories written about said laptop.
Yes, sir.
And in 2020, unfortunately, NPR's managing editor for news refused to cover the story, and he branded it a, quote, waste of time, not a real story, and a distraction.
Now, this gets even more shocking. However, I need to point this out. Whether or not you agree with the Hunter laptop story or the Biden story, the whole point is if you are paying for an organization that's supposed to be covering the top stories of the year in an unbiased fashion just to give us the information, they are not doing it.
Would it trouble you to hear that for 6 months, there was an analysis done on PBS's NewsHour from June to November of 2023, where they found that far right that term was used 162 times and far left was only used 6 times. Yeah. They used the term far right 162 times, far left 6 times. That's a 96 to 4% skew. You're also aware that you covered the GOP and Democratic National Conventions in 2024?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Interestingly, 72% of the coverage of the GOP convention was negative, 88% of the Democratic convention was positive.
I told you this was about to get shocking, and it gets even more crazy as we get through this video. But again, whether you are a Republican or Democrat, I don't think that should matter. What should matter is we are all forced to pay taxes, and you have an organization who got caught being way overly biased. These skews are like 90 to 10. These are not like 50-50 splits or 60-40 splits. These are massive splits that show a very big bias.
Now, Ms. Kerger, the American people want to know, is Elmo now, or has he ever been, a member of the Communist Party of the United States? A yes or no?
No.
Now, are you sure, Ms. Kruger? Because he's obviously red.
Well, he is a puppet, but no.
Now, that's not all. He also has a very dangerous message about sharing and helping each other. He's indoctrinating our kids that sharing is caring. Now, maybe he's part of a major socialist plot, and maybe that's why the chairwoman is having this hearing today. But let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about Cookie Monster. Now, we know that Health Secretary RFK Jr. is coming out against fast food and baked goods. Are we silencing pro-cookie voters? Yes or no? Ms. Kruger.
But cookies are a sometime food.
Now, please leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this. Obviously, this is a Democrat who is using humor, sarcasm, and Sesame Street against Republicans and conservatives to try and discredit the arguments Republicans have against Sesame Street and the entire entity of NPR or PBS. The only problem is, as we keep going through this video, you'll notice, you know what? Maybe the arguments from Republicans might have a little legitimacy.
So the message, I think, today is very, very simple. If we're going to get rid of any puppeteers, we should get rid of the one that's actually controlling Donald Trump. Fire Elon Musk and save Elmo. And with that, I yield back.
Okay. To your knowledge, has Miss Piggy ever been caught trying to funnel billions of dollars in government contracts to herself and to her companies?
That's a silly question.
Well, the answer is no. How about Arthur the Aardvark? Has he ever fired independent government watchdogs who are investigating his companies? The answer is no. Madam Chair, I'm told we're here to talk about government efficiency, but Daniel Tiger has not blown $10 million of taxpayer money to play golf with his friends, but Donald Trump has, just at the beginning of his administration. Miss Piggy hasn't been caught funneling billions of dollars in government contracts to herself, but Elon Musk has, and Arthur has not fired independent government watchdogs investigating him and his companies. But Elon Musk has fired at least 5.
Please leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this. And I don't know if you caught it, the gentleman who was being asked the questions, who didn't even get a chance to say yes or no, he was being told no. He was even saying this is ridiculous. So again, I don't know how effective this argumentation is, but as you can see, it's almost as if Democrats were going to get some screen time and TV time and try to use it to push some sort of agenda or try to hate on Donald Trump. And as we can see, according to the polls and statistics, Americans are not even buying it. So I don't know if this was a good idea from the Democrats.
So once again, my Republican colleagues are dragging in a scapegoat, this time PBS and NPR, to try to distract from the fact that Trump and Musk are robbing working people. It's Sesame Street that's making things expensive. It's Mr. Rogers that's blowing taxpayer money. It's listeners like you. It's absurd. The total funding for public broadcasting is just 1/6 the amount that Elon Musk's companies make off of the government every single year. But you will not see Elon Musk being grilled by this committee. I've seen a lot, but pointing the finger at Elmo to cover for Elon Musk might be a new low for Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene's committee.
Now, I can sense a lot of you watching this video. I know what you're thinking. I know exactly what we are all thinking. Democrats now only care about Elon Musk because of how vocal he has been against Democrats. So really, what we are seeing is almost this self-defeating argument where Democrats are pointing the fingers at Republicans, but Democrats never seem to have an issue with NPR, even though we all knew about the over-bias rating, but now we are all seeing how public it really is. Again, please leave your comments down below how you feel about this. And even Democrats will point out, Democrats have to stop going after Elon Musk and going after Donald Trump. Try to stick to the arguments within what you're trying to argue. Stop trying to use your own scapegoats. I have plenty of videos pointing out even Democrats are sick of other Democrats doing this.
Then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said, Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
I actually don't want to be too harsh on this CEO because she's actually new. She's been there for a year, and every single time she got caught in a corner, she did admit that yes, that was wrong, and she did apologize. So at the very least, we have a CEO who is apologizing and admitting this is wrong. So I do want to point that out. I want to be fair here. I don't want to throw her completely under the bus, but regardless of that, again, Republicans just honing in. They just keep honing in on that bias, and Democrats really did not have a response to it.
Why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today. They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that I believe that the president had said rather than who he is. I don't presume that anyone is a racist.
You don't believe anyone is a racist?
I don't start by presuming anyone is a racist, sir.
Okay. Has NPR or PBS ever conducted an internal review to assess whether conservative or right-leaning perspectives are fairly representative news and programming?
Congressman, what we look at is the distribution of people who listen to our work, and we can tell you, and I'm proud to tell you, that for our digital, our podcasts and our website, the distribution of Americans who come to NPR does reflect the political distribution of the nation. In fact, the distribution on our websites, 33% of folks who come are conservative versus 28% who are liberal, and the rest identify as independent.
Now, look, again, I just want to point out the CEO, she does apologize nearly every single time she gets called out, and she does retract her statements. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't accept that. Moving on, those statistics at the end, I don't think it does anyone a favor, because I'm sure plenty of us, as a Republican, maybe you'll watch CNN because Scott Jennings is on the channel, or other big Republican names like a Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. Does that mean Republicans all of a sudden love CNN and they agree with CNN? No, and this happens throughout all of the spectrum of television and media. So again, I don't think these statistics actually help out these public broadcasting networks.
Ms. Marr, your public statements and social media posts reflect left-wing ideology and blatant opposition to free speech. After all, you were the head of Wikipedia for many years, which is a platform that doesn't tell the truth. Let's walk through some of your statements so the public can understand your personal views. You said your fellow Americans just elected Donald Trump as president again this past November. You called him a deranged racist and sociopath. You posted on X that America is addicted to white supremacy. It's appalling. You've publicly chastised using the phrase boy and girl, which you said erases the language for non-binary people. There's only two genders, by the way. Ms. Marr, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these. Let me inform you, and that your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country, the 77 million Americans who voted for President Trump. Seems to be speech that you agree with. In 2021, you called the First Amendment the #1 challenge in American journalism because it makes it hard to crack down on bad information. You said in a TED Talk that our reverence for the truth might be a distraction. You've also expressed support for deplatforming individuals you view as fascist. Who do you think should be charged with cracking down on so-called bad information? Is it NPR? Is it the government? Is it you, Ms. Marr?
I mean, that had to be one of the biggest mic drop moments of the entire hearing. And like I said, the CEO, she does apologize and does regret what she says. Again, that's up to her soul, not to me. If she's sincere, she's sincere. If she's not, she's not. But what I want to point out is, look, the past is the past, and what you said has consequences in the future, especially as important as something that our children are watching or we are listening to. Is this way too over-biased? Is somebody way too over-biased running this channel when our taxpayers are paying for this organization? Please leave your comments down below how you feel about this. And the video is about to end how you think it's about to end. Not good for these organizations.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content. After listening to what we've heard today, we will be calling for the complete and total defund and dismantling of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Here's how it works in America every single day, private businesses operate on their own without government funding. We believe that you all can hate us on your own dime.